All right, it is time to move ahead. Let us go further. We have another panel discussion lined up. And the topic for next panel discussion is innovating from designing to leasing to make malls, the experience islands. I'm sure it is sounding really interesting to all of you. And moderator for this session is Ms. Sakshi Goyal, Senior Director and Retail Head, North India, CBRE India. Let us welcome her with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
So I would like to welcome all our esteemed panelists, as we gather here today to talk about something which is extremely interesting and relevant, which is making malls into an experiential island. So as we start, it's really interesting. We have a lot of people here with a lot of diverse backgrounds, with a lot of depth in leasing and strategizing. So, just starting with you, Rohit, what do you think about, when we start leasing a mall, when we prepare the footprint of a mall, how important do you think it is to think about the larger anchors? And do you think this has changed over the years in terms of categories, in terms of sizes? And do you think even the pandemics played a role in the same?
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. I think it's a very important topic that whether we actually consult all the brands, especially anchors when you're designing a mall, especially the blueprint of a mall, it becomes absolute critical to understand what size, especially anchor, right? What we're seeing over the period of years, the sizes are changing and it's changing drastically. I'm sure. So take an example of cinemas. We used to see cinemas used from single screen to multiplex, used to be 4 or 5 screens. Now they're wanting to do 12. I just heard Mr. Ruya talking about 15, 16 screens and full-on experiential centers, right? Similarly, the anchors, the multinational anchors which entered the country, right? You see H&M, you see other players, right? They start with big box, 60,000, 75,000 square feet. But now they're good even at 15,000 square feet, right? So that's on anchor bit. It's very critical because end of the day, we're building a real estate, right? Once you build a mall, it's going to be there forever. And trust me, to change the sizes and cut it and not cut it and expand it, there is a cost with various authorities at various regional levels, which a pain only a developer can understand. So that it's very, very critical that we make a informed decision and as one-on-one with the partners. Coming back to your second part of has COVID changed it? Yes, we see a lot of changes and it's very drastic, especially in the vanilla side of it. The brands used to be okay with 800,000, 1,200 square feet. All of them are asking for a large space, going beyond 2,500.
And what do you think has made that happen?
So I think a few categories which have seen crazy growth, especially athleisure, right? You see athleisure as a category, everybody wants a excess of 3,000 square feet. I think one is definitely the growth of them. And second, when we talk to few brands, what they also believe globally, the phenomenon of consumer is when they enter a space, they want a spaced out space. That psyche is still playing on the consumer mind. So they want it to be little bit larger. So these are the two key things which have really, really changed. Yeah. Thanks.
Ravinder, I like your thoughts on this. With lots of experience in resizing, relooking, with a newly launched center.
So continuing to what Rohit said, athleisure was one, yes, certainly. Second was home, that surprised all of us. And it has grown really well. Being COVID allowed us to explore all the corners of our house. And work from home allowed us to convert one of our rooms, which was lying idle for either of the users, to convert them into a flexible work from home corner. And home was one. And like Rohit started off, the leasing starts from the designing stage. So a leasing guy should be imparted into the workspace decisions when we are talking to the architects on the designing front. The mall has to have a nature of expanding and contracting both. Malls are made with a large horizon. The leases are made with a shorter horizon for 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years max. But the malls are not let for 15 years. So retail is changing, and it is ought to change in times to come also. So the malls can't be changed as and when the retail requirement comes in. So they have to be kept in mind while designing on the paper to execution on the stage. Uh, like the common areas, like Rohit ended his note on, the first feel to the arrival has to be big. People should feel that they're in a comfortable space. There is enough and more space to walk around. Retail will follow eventually. Uh, I was listening to Atulji in his opening note. Malls are not just shopping, they are more of experience centers. So you need to create that experience that any guest coming into the mall should feel that it's a good place, comfortable place to spend 5, 6 hours. And then just let him free. Let him be free at the center, and shopping, food, everything will happen as a byproduct. And parking plays a very, very key role in the arrival of any customer who walks into the mall. That is the first touch point wherein the experience could be given or felt as a consumer. And that has to be very, very seamless. Multiple entries, larger ramps to take them in. Seamless in. So somebody has drove 15, 20, 30 minutes away, planned his day at the center. And the arrival has to be very, very smooth. Very, very smooth.
Chandrasekhar, your thoughts. You help a lot of developers plan their blueprints and help them execute it.
Sure.
So what are those things that we keep in mind, and how have you seen the anchor strategy evolve? Another part to that would be, do you think it changes from the time you advise to the time it's actually executed?
Okay, well, see, firstly, I would say that it is a best practice that we engage with the retail partners from the time we conceptualize the plans. At Beyond Square Feet, whichever malls we have designed, we certainly engage with the retailers. Though we feel that we broadly understand their requirements, but their requirements are not static. Their requirements keep changing from time to time, from city to city, from mall to mall, from location to location. So it is wise that we interact with them at the beginning stage itself. More so for the multiplexes, because as far as the multiplex is concerned, their execution ideally happens as per the GFC drawings of the operator. To cite a recent example, we also realize when you interact with the retailer, sometimes they also give you valuable inputs. We recently closed one multiplex at Tanjavur, and there was an input from the multiplex operator saying that if you don't give me a 800-seater screen multiplex, then I will not be able to charge the ticket pricing what I can if the multiplex is 800-seater plus. So to ensure that he has the affordability to pay the developer, we had to eventually change the plan slightly, which is a win-win for both of them. Thank you.
Yeah. Nandini.
So I think we've all come to realize there's an optimal size for every format. Gone are those days where I used to think that, okay, we can take or give a little extra to the brand, but no. Here, I think developers are also concerned about the per square feet and the trading density. So the planning really, on the drawing stage involves not just the projected sales of the brand, of the category, but also the service areas, their technical requirements. Yeah. So at that stage, I think if it's planned where F&B and the kind of requirements that they would have technically, and the outlets are all equipped with it, then leasing, I think, is more like, a sale through that. So yeah, the optimum size is, I think, where we're all trying to work on. Yeah.
Thank you. Ashish, thoughts on how anchors would play a role in circulation, designing the circulation for the mall from a consumer perspective?
See, all these big retailers, anchors, why we plan them at the beginning stages, we want to fill the corners and at the center of the projects, so that that can derive the center point of the footfall where they can flock, right? And apart from cinemas, multiplexes, and hypers, I want to say that brands which are category winners in different centers, like in athleisure, brand like Nike, we have to involve them also in planning stage. Why? Because we have to plan the zoning also. in electronics, probably Chromas of the world, right? All these guys should be, put in inside, in the blueprint stage only, so that we can plan the zoning along with the customer flows.
So, very valid point. I think circulation remains very, very key, and not only within the center, but even outside the center. So, Arvind, your thoughts on how, when you're working on the blueprint, how does the traffic circulation play a part? And, you plan that for most of the leading centers. So, what are the 5 advices that you give to the developers on day 1 to say, this is what we need to take care of?
Thank you. Thank you. The devil is in the detail, and planning is all about detail. And the planning needs to start at the master plan level. Because once the concrete is cast in a building or office or a mall, there's little you can do to change it. Now, the challenges which come while you're operating a mall or an office or a large establishment, and if you haven't taken care of it at the master planning stage, it could be disastrous. Because the incoming traffic, the entry experience and the exit experience are extremely vital. The first experience the customer has is of parking, right? So there are 5 or 6 things which you should take care of. Now, when a large property comes, say a mall, on a weekend, you could have 6,000 to 7,000, 8,000 cars coming in, right? So they are going to add to the traffic outside the mall. Now, have the roads been studied? Are the roads broad enough? Are there enough end-up passes, overhead passes, traffic signals, etc.? You don't want a situation where, 500 meters before the mall, you're stuck in traffic and you're slowly going, taking you 40 minutes to reach the mall. So that is the first plan which has to be, the first thing which has to be planned. The second thing is that once you enter the gate, right, is there enough queuing capacity at the gate, or is the car spilling off onto the main road? Because if you're spilling onto the main road, then the traffic police will come because you're blocking everything else. Now, once you enter, so this is the second thing which needs to be planned, the entry at the gate, even at the exit. The third thing which needs to be planned is that once you enter the office, where is the drop-off? After the drop-off, can your driver enter the basement, or does he have to go outside the property to come in again? And even at the pickup, when he comes out of the parking, can he conveniently reach the pickup place, or is it a problem, or does the person have to go to the basement to get picked up in the car? So the third thing is the drop-off and pickup. And once, as you said, the ramps have been cast and everything is fixed, you really can't change it. So we come across certain malls where they come to us after everything is over and then they ask us to change it. We can't really do much. We can do some things, maybe improve it by 10 or 20%, but not more than that. Then the other thing is, what about the circulation inside the car park? It has to be one way, conflict-free. You don't want cars coming head-on to each other, and it should not be a two-way drive. So again, a lot of people don't take this into account, right? The other thing is, what technology do you have to run the car park? That has to be planned, because you have to lay optic fiber, you have to, the basic technology platform needs to be decided. Now, many properties are multi-use, right? So you have office, you have retail, right? You have a convention center. Now, each user of each property, or he has a different requirement. Some of them come in free, some of them pay. So how will people come in, right? And what technology will be used? Because now there are several technologies. You have FASTag, you have ANPR, you have ticket dispensers, right? And they have several payment technologies also. And what malls want is that they want that when a customer comes in, right, they should know who the customer is, so that they can include him in a loyalty program. So the next thing you need really, which is the fifth thing, is to be able to plan your technology platform properly. It cannot be retrofitted. It can be retrofitted. Anything can be retrofitted, but it's not a very elegant situation. And the sixth thing which you need to have is your signage properly, so that when customers come in, they know where to go. There has to be adequate signage. They should be able to, enter and leave the car park effortlessly. A lot of people, big developers now are beginning to realize this, so we get involved with them at the master plan greenfield project. But still, there are smaller developers who still don't realize the importance of detailed planning for traffic and parking, which
No, those are
hopefully will
really
begin to
valuable
happen.
insights. Thank you for sharing those with us. Ravinder, with the mall that you've recently launched, how have you been able to implement some of these strategies?
So luckily, our mall is also designed by Secure, and we've been constantly meeting them and evolving. And during the COVID times, we straight away moved from ticketed entry to a QR-based entry, wherein no touch was imposed immediately, and the seamless entries were made. Going forward, as we see a larger traction post the opening of corona wave since Jan, Feb, March, and April going on. So what we realized, the demand of valet is consistently growing. People wants to really park the car at the valet drop. So the usual problem that we faced while we were noticing the customer experience journey of in to out, we realized that when the shopping day is entirely spent and while he's making out and he's going, he's planning to exit the center now, he has to wait at the valet for at least 5 minutes, 4 minutes, more than 5 minutes at times if it is a peak hour on a Sunday evening or a Saturday evening. So now we are also automating the exit of the customer very, very smoothless, wherein as soon as you prepare your mind that now I'll be making an exit and I will be start going down the center and I'll be making an exit, you just need to drop a SMS or a WhatsApp which was generated at the time of your drop-off. And by the time you move out, your car is at the valet. So like I said earlier, the experience from receiving the customer in the mall to make him leave the center, it has to be in the same energy and same spirit. If that is maintained, the day is well spent. And that leaves the customer with a smile and gives them more reasons to come back to the center, like it is their own center to come in. So that spirit has to be there in every deed that a developer does today, be it the concierge, welcome desk, the hospitality zone, or at the valet. All touch points of customers needs to be treated with utmost care and with a lot of spirit and energy.
Staying on that point, and I'll throw open this question to Ashish. Ashish, how do you think when we are re-looking at customer, the customer journey, or when the mall is aging or becoming mature, how is it that we are reworking on the floor plan, or how is it that, apart from all the experiences that we are creating, how is it that we are redoing the brands? What are the thoughts when you're re-looking at a shop, that who should it go to, or what else should we bring in?
See, as a developer, the product of a developer is square feet, right? It is important that we work on the rental per square feet, right? For that, byproduct is the trade density, sales per square feet. We have to get into their, the P&L of retailers also. I mean, reworking in tenant mix can be rechurning, can be resizing, can be increasing or decreasing both, not only decreasing. If you've done in past, resizing of Nike from a smaller to bigger sizes, resizing of Levi's from a smaller to bigger sizes, and then resizing of brands like Miniso to smaller sizes. All these things we have to, minutely work with the retailers. I feel the developer who do not, so the developers who have already, completed decade of their successful business, it is important that, reworking, rechurning, resizing is important, and refurbishing of the new formats in the mall is also important.
Rohit, your thoughts on this? As you run so many centers which need to constantly be relooked at, the floor plans, and how do you decide which brand to bring in next, and what is the thought behind that?
So yeah, Sakshi, this is like the crux of any mall developer, right? We need to be relevant every time, all the time. And that's the core of our business, right? Honestly, how do we do it is we need to keep a watch on which is the category which is performing, which are the new categories which are coming up, right? And in last 4-5 years, I'm sure the country is seeing a surge of startup brands. I saw a section there behind as well, a startup section already. So no longer, I think the developers have to look at each brand, what kind of a background or profile the brand is coming from. Last 20 IPOs, if you look at it, right, 4 or 5 of them would be unicorns, which are startups, right? So we have to actually critically evaluate each brand with the merit of, rightly what he said, is the throughput, and obviously the rate per square feet for a developer is critical. But it's also important that what categories we get in, and very importantly, how relevant we are all the time. Yeah.
Nandini, in your previous roles, you've obviously been advising developers on, how to go about this, what to look at. So your thoughts on the same?
Absolutely. So my outlook, of course, completely changed on the other side. On the leasing front, we knew clearly, okay, these are the categories you want to fill in, these are the fashion brands. But on the other side, we're constantly exploring new brands. There's so many Indian-oriented brands who've come up. And I think the only thing they really need to be worked upon is the customer experiences. So, in one of our neighborhood centers that we've launched, and it's been a year of operation now, we actually went out looking for some Indian origin brands, or rather local brands here, worked a lot on the tenant design, circulation, the right size, and some of them have actually become bigger brands now. They've got already 10 stores running after they opened that store. So yes, so there is a constant learning. I think new categories, enhancement, the customer experience and expectations have also increased. So the more they travel, the more they see online, of course, and we have to constantly, catch up and keep evolving ourselves every day. So that's how it is.
So, Ravinder, your thoughts on that? How are you looking at churning when, Vegas is not a very old center, but we are looking at the fact that you're already listening to the consumers?
Yes, we are fairly young to talk on the churn, but COVID and pandemic has taught us this a little early, which was unavoidable for us. But I would like to take the positive side of it. Yeah. So in the last run that we had in the Q3 and Q4 of last FY, so there were few brands which did a floor TD of close to about 4,000, 4,200 on the first floor, which was good for us. And we knew that they had more room to play. So there were few brands that we have given larger size to. They have just opened up. So to name a few, we have Puma, who have 3x the size. We had Van Heusen, who has done 2x the size. We have Skechers 2x, Levi's is 2x, Allen Solly is 3x. And there were few brands whom we have taken some areas back also, that we wanted to optimize the store levels. And the good part is that we have created some different kind of retailing spaces. For example, we are hosting the only club today, which is a stand-up comedy club, wherein it is available round the clock on Book My Show. All 7 days there are performances happening, and which gives a lot of traction to my F&B floor. Because the show is only for 1.5 hours. But after that, the guests are bound to go to F&B and complement the entire center. And with the Laugh Store kind of a concept, people from all parts of Delhi NCR come to watch their favorite artist or whom they look up to. So we need to be flexible, like I said in my first answer also, that the mall has to be a little more open. They need to be very, very flexible to these kind of thoughts, to experiment. You never know what retailers are bound to do. So you need to be a little more patient, listening to them, go with their flow, what kind of formats that they are looking at, because they've been doing a lot of energizing the brands in the hindsight, which we don't know. All of a sudden, a retailer comes to us and say, I want to have a 3,000 square feet store. But if you firmly believe that their vision is right and they are going in the right direction, offer them that 3,000. So not just by optimizing the stores, by giving them experiential store also, there are times that the brands have surprised us in whatever short duration that the mall has seen in 2 years. So going forward, there will be a right balance, like Ashish was mentioning. We need to see a lot of hand-picked brands who are high potential brands for us, like Nike, Levi's. Giving them a little larger size from the regular vanillas will really help the center to draw larger attraction. And they will be doing a similar kind of TD that they would be doing out of a 1,500 or a 1,600 square feet earlier. So so these are few categories which have really been accepted largely by the consumer, and they're fairly old in the trade also. So now they are getting the right size, right zone, and they know what size they are working out.
Thank you. I think I like to we're running out of time, so I'd just like to take everybody's last view on, I think we've come to a point where it's the biggest comeback post-pandemic, post-2019, both in terms of the footfalls, in terms of, the numbers, the kind of sales we've seen in the last few months. So, from all of you's perspective, and all of you can just go and tell us that what is that one, element of retail that will stand out for you or your shopping center? Is it F&B? Is it fashion? Is it entertainment? So what is it, or is it two of them? So what do you think would drive people, and what would be that standout element? Should we start with you, Rohit?
So yeah, I think one element, we saw those one elements after the pandemic, right? So few categories really took off much faster, right, in terms of the recovery. But now, as we see, last 3-4 months, forget recovery, everybody's growing, right? I think last month, cinema across the country would have done the best ever month of their across, right? Mainly because they were blockbuster movies, they had the great contents, and I think what people in these conferences 6 months ago, we were talking that OTT will take over and all. I don't think that that's a passe, right? So F&B is back, clubs are back, everybody is moving out. So I think all these categories are really complementing each other. For us, I think it's the whole mall which is really growing. To give anyone a single credit will be unfair. But yes, there were different phases of it, but now I think everybody's come to the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in a sum up post-pandemic, how I see the malls coming up, or how the consumerism coming back, I'll say keep it simple to the consumer, keep them excited, keep them engaged for every time that they come to the center, and focus on the 4F, which is fun, food, family, and fashion. And happy times ahead. We'll see retail bouncing back very, very strongly in this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
See, I think to sum it up, shopping is an experience, it's a therapy, right? We have to make shopping simple and yet, probably safer for customers, right? And I feel food is the new fashion. Food and entertainment is what we should more focus on, with a experience and safer environment.
Thank you, Ashish. Arvind, your 2 bits on this.
I think in parking, the biggest driver will be technology. The technology is changing so fast so that you have good technology for better customer experience and better customer loyalty. That will be the main thing.
Thank you.
Well, to stay relevant, shopping centers have to become experiential centers, which they are. So I think F&B and entertainment, as other panelists have said, will take a larger chunk in the mall to give that experience to the customers. Thank you.
Nandini?
It's hard to choose, but I think the right mix, having, of course, your shopping and F&B definitely is really, the ratios become higher and higher in some cases. And the essential elements, your pet stores, your eyewear, even in the pandemic and the COVID times, we realized, we had to be functional for those from at the supermarket, making sure that the F&B areas, the outlets have their delivery still going. So I think, so the right balance is important to have.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I think very, very insightful. Thank you so much for all your inputs and your insights. Thank you.